preacher man. The only boy who could ever teach me was the son of a preacher man. Yes, he was. He was.
Hey, how's it going? Whew. Been listening to some Dusty lately. How are you doing? I hope you're good. Talking to me. I'll probably get like, I don't know, a copyright strike or something. If I use that, right? If I use that music, but that's okay. That's okay. I can take it out. I don't know. It's 8:30 in London. I mean, if you can't dance to Dusty Springfield live on the internet in London at 8:30 p.m., where can you? So, I hope you're well. I hope you're out there. If you're out there, say hi in the chat. It'd be awesome. I'd love to see it. So, it's Sunday, and I'm trying different times for this stream. Hey, Nori. Hi. So I'm trying different times for all this because this is still relatively new. I've been working this out for about a month, I guess. And I have my chips. I have new chips. Hey, Kirsten. Ottawa, Canada. What's up? So, Kate, love it. Back to school masks for tomorrow. Thank you for doing your part. That's great. London doesn't have a mask mandate right now, but I wear mine. I mean, I don't wear it outside, but when I go into like the grocery store or I go into like I wear it, you know. I wear it. I'm used to it, right? So thanks for doing that. Hey, Sugar Bear. Hey, how's it going? Welcome. I don't know if you saw me dancing to Dusty Springfield. Maybe if you didn't, it's maybe for the best. I don't know. But but the reason I was doing that is because I have this cool button thing. My husband gave me this for my birthday. I just turned 42. I kind of like it. I like 42. And you can program things like right now, like on your screen, you see my browser, right? I can make it a little bigger. And when I press this button, it pulls up the International Quilt Museum's search thing. So you see that button? That button. Well, that's the logo for the International Quilt Museum. And when I press that button, it comes right up, the search to search the collection, which I do all the time. So then I can press YouTube, and I get my YouTube page. You should subscribe and become a member. And then preview. And then what else? Okay, well then there's this. Hey, Rhonda. Hi, Carol. It's your birthday, Carol. Happy birthday. Everybody say happy birthday to Carol because she is very special. Happy birthday. Hey, Bip. Hi. It's good to see the crew. Anyway, so I programmed something to do this. Oh no. And I only did that much, but I have a Dusty Springfield button. You know, on the you see her in the middle? It's kind of hard to see, but she's right there. So when when something happens, I don't know if you've ever watched like any other Twitch streams, probably not. I mean, I've only watched like one or two, but they do sound effects and stuff. So I was like, well, I need a sound effect. I don't know when we'll play it. Maybe when it's somebody's birthday. Like Carol, it's your birthday. So you're an August baby. Me too. And so is Eric. So anyway, so I've been doing this for about a month, and I stream every Tuesday and Thursday at 5 p.m. my time, which is 11 p.m. Central. And that consistency is important, so people know, like, okay, this is happening at these specific times. I want to check it out. I, saw this on Facebook or Instagram that Mary's doing this thing. So maybe if I have, a minute on Tuesday or Thursday, I know I can drop in and see what this is all about, right? Instagram and Facebook don't like it when I want people to come to a different platform. So I don't know that I go into the algorithm much, which it's either my pride maybe getting in the way because my posts on Instagram get like an average, like number or whatnot. I hate that I know this, but you kind of do. But the stuff about the live stream on Twitch, it's pretty low. The like number's pretty low, and I have accepted that maybe people don't like it. But I've also wondered if people aren't seeing it as much. Really, because Instagram, think about the bots that crawl through the posts, and think about what they do when they encounter, go to Twitch for a live stream. I don't know. I don't feel like they promote it. But it might just be that no one cares. It's fine. It's fine. But I think people will like it when they find it. So the best thing that you could do would be to share this little thing with your friends. And if you have, I really appreciate it. Twitch is new to a lot of people. It was new to me. And Twitch is a live streaming platform, and YouTube has live streaming, and Instagram has live streaming. But I think Twitch does a really good job of it. The chat is awesome. Yeah, Sue Fisher, exactly. It was new to me as well. And I think it would be a little scarier, and I don't mean to sound sort of, close-minded, whatever, but I think it would be a little bit less likely that people would come along and join me on this quilt adventure that we've been going on if it wasn't an Amazon company, right? Amazon bought Twitch years ago. And so, the Amazon button is there. You can, you have to make a Twitch account, but you don't have to buy anything. You don't ever have to do anything but just watch the channels that you want to watch. And I'm pretty sure that this one's going to be the one you watch, at least for a while, because most of the Twitch streams are gamers. Like it's a gaming live stream channel. I think there is another quilter on Twitch, another quilt person, and I should give her a shout out. And I will next time. I will make sure that I find her, and I should talk to her too. And then I'll either bring her on or chat up her stream. So, it says the more taglines you have. Oh, interesting. Okay. Carol says, I only watch one other live stream, and she says the more taglines you have, the more likely it is for people to find you when they search. Taglines. To show you how new this is to me, Sue, just like you, tagline. What does that even mean? Like tags, like hashtags? Carol, you're going to teach me about this because I don't know. I should reach out to that girl. Like, what am I thinking? Why have I not reach out to on Twitch? And we'll look her up too on camera, because you should follow her as well, right? If you don't. Hey, Belle. Hi. Belle was my first follower ever, which was, I'll never forget it. She came by and she was the only person because no one knew about it, right? But she came. I did a gig for Quilters Candy, and I mentioned the Twitch stream for the first time during that Zoom gig, and I was like, I'm gonna do this thing and come over there, and Belle did. So so here's what happens. So this is kind of the preamble, so you get a chance to understand what's going on here. It's also a chance for me to get my nerves out and kind of relax a little bit, because I've been a performer. I was in theater and did performance in Chicago for many years. And what I've realized doing this stream is, it's exactly like going on stage, because, there's that moment when the curtain rises and there you go, there's the audience, and turning on the start streaming button, it's a little bit like that. And so doing this introduction and maybe playing Dusty Springfield is kind of the way that I ease into things. Okay, we're turning you off. So do not disturb. So Twitch, okay, is this live stream platform, and you can chat as you watch. What I am doing here is going down the quilt rabbit hole, going into the weeds of the quilt universe, at least on the internet and in my vast file of quilt images and quilt articles and newspaper clippings and all of the stuff that I've looked at and continue to look at. Oh, I have the wine. We're going to talk about snacks. Yeah, we're going to talk about it. It's 8:45 almost here, so wine is okay. So I have all of this research, right? And I'm just I'm naturally a curious person in every way, and I just love to learn stuff. And I love the topic of quilts because quilts are a gateway into the whole world. And I didn't think that would be true for me when I was growing up. I didn't know that I would care so much about quilts. But as I grew up and started to make quilts myself, there came a point when I started really caring a lot about quilts, not just about making them or learning different techniques, but I cared about the people, for one thing, all of the women and the men that I met as I taught all over the country, and people that I met when I gave lectures. The people mean the most. But the history of quilts and what they do in culture beyond the quilt world has interested me for years now. And working as editor of Quilt Folk, I recently stepped down as editor-in-chief, and I'm an editorial advisor now, and I work with Quilt Folk still on different projects. But I traveled the country, and in every instance, because Quilt Folk is a magazine, a quarterly magazine that you should subscribe to if you don't. I'll pull up the website. Whoa. I think I have the wrong. Do I have this thing on? It's strange. Okay, so I don't know why that's doing that. Quiltfolk.com is a completely safe website. I changed a setting in my computer so we can watch this video in a minute. Anyway, so Quilt Folk is a quarterly magazine, ad-free. It's a remarkable magazine. It's 164 pages, no ads, as I mentioned, and we go state by state, investigating quilts and the people who make them in each state, and the photography is, amazing. If you know Quilt Folk, you know that that's true. And so the reason I bring it up is that as I was working on that magazine and doing, this other research on my own, I had a reason, for example, to really learn about Michigan, to really learn about Vermont, Louisiana. And quilts were the reason that I did that, right? It was Quilt Folk specifically, but because of quilts, I know about Utah. I know more about Utah than I ever would know on my own. It was quilts that led the way to that. And I'm deeply grateful for that because I love learning about America, the history, good, bad, and ugly. I love learning about the people who live there, all of the different kinds of people who live there. I like learning about England, the whole world, right? And quilts are made all over the world. And we'll look at world quilts on this show, on this live stream. We'll look at quilts in England. We'll look at quilts everywhere and in every way. Quilts have given me the opportunity to learn about the world. And what I love so much is to look beyond the quilt world as such. Oh, thanks, Kirsten. I love Quilt Folk too. It's a very special magazine. What I love to do is see, where are quilts appearing in fashion magazines, for example. And they do. They really do. Oh, good. Belle, you got a subscription to Quilt Folk. Good. At the Quilters Candy gig. I mentioned it, of course. Yeah. Volume 16. Wait, let me think. Hold on, let me think. Hold on, don't tell me. Okay, 10, Vermont. See, Minnesota. 16, hang on. 14. Okay, 14 was South Carolina. Oh, is it? No, not Nebraska. Nebraska was 15. Is it Illinois? No. Yeah, no. What is 16? Oh, I can't believe it. Hang on. Oh, no, it's family. The family issue. Of course, how could I forget? So really quick, I mean, and by the way, the live stream, the average length, if you're new, I'm just telling this to all the new people. Hopefully there are some new people here. Live streams are different from a show on television or even a YouTube video. Live streams are sort of freewheeling. Yay, Rhonda and Nori. Oh, good. Yes, Nori, exactly. Live streams are different. They are freewheeling. It's like we're hanging out. I'm sort of the moderator or the host. So I kind of take things where they go. And the way that I look at quilts, when I look online or I look through files or I read things, is I just kind of let my fingers do the clicking. I kind of go from this thing to that thing. Exactly. And I'll, interrupt myself. I'll read the comments from the chat. And it kind of goes like that. So if you like a very plotted out, specific thing, I mean, I have a plan each time for what we're going to do on a given stream, but it is looser. It's looser. And the idea is twofold. One, to get a robust audience, a robust community here, because the more of you that contribute to the chat, the talk amongst yourselves, the more we all can get from this. Because if we're talking about the AIDS quilt, which we will talk about again today to sort of do part 2 of what we talked about yesterday, if there's someone in the chat who has an experience with the AIDS quilt or has something to say about it, that's great. That's what helps me, is to talk to you and have this be a conversation. So that's part of it, is to really combine all of our passion and our love and our knowledge of this particular topic. And the other idea is that you would put on this freewheeling sort of casual show while you're sewing. I mean, I'll talk about quilts. I'm going to talk about how I'm going to get a perm. But the main, I promise you, at least for now, before I start doing just an open chat where I talk about my life, it's going to stay pretty tight on quilts. Because that's my community, I really love you. I've met a lot of you, and I really care about you. I do. So this is a way for us to hang out, and you can sew, and we watch movies, quilt-related films, things like that. I just love it. I just can't get enough of it. So that's why I keep doing it, and you keep coming, and I appreciate that a lot. So so come here, subscribe, if you subscribe to my channel, you get a notification. As long as you have your notifications on for Twitch, you'll get a notification whenever I go live. And right now I'm doing the Tuesdays and Thursdays at 11 a.m. Central to keep that consistency. But all week I've kind of been going on at different times to see what works. Yesterday, Saturday evening, yes, Rhonda is sewing now and she is quilt obsessed. Same. I'm not sewing now, but I could be. If I didn't have to do this part, I could be. And I worked on my hand piecing a little bit this morning. Something's wrong. I don't know. My seam allowance is weird with the piece that I set in. I mean, I set in all those stars, but then when I put the hexagon in, something's wrong. I'll show it to you. But anyway. So maybe one day I'll sew and we'll just chat. That'd be amazing. But so I've been trying out different times of the week because I want to know what time is good for people. The time difference between London and the States is pretty brutal. If I go on at 8:30, it's decent, right? On a Sunday afternoon for most of you. But if I go on at 10 a.m., it's the middle of the night for you. So yeah, if you subscribe, you'll get a notification when I go on, and if it works for you, that's great. Yesterday was cool. We had a good number of people in here, and we'll see what Sunday's going to do. Belle is writing her first pattern. I've always said that people who make quilts, most of the time, some people are good at everything, but most of us are particularly good at one thing. I mean, not only one thing, but for example, some people are just brilliant at drafting patterns. Some people are just really good with color. They're really good at picking fabric. They just always seem to get it right. Some people are just technically amazing. I'm sure you can think of someone in your sphere who's just like, ugh, you just hate her for what she can do, or him, whatever. And yeah, and we all have our strengths. I am so bad at arithmetic. I mean, mathematics just eludes me, but I'm pretty good at like contrast and color. I can usually figure that out. And Belle, maybe we will find out, maybe by the end of this stream, that you're very good at writing patterns. If that turns out to be the case, you need to let us know, because we'll be very happy. We'll be as happy as we are that it's Carol's birthday. I mean, Carol gets you're the queen of the stream, okay? Because it's your birthday, and you're a Leo, like me. But Belle, you're close, real close. So okay, so what are we gonna do tonight? We are going to do a couple things. I'm going to tell you about the Perm. It's the last kind of intro stuff that I'll do. And then we're going to text my mom, Marianne Fons. 2 streams ago, I texted my mom on screen. So you're going to see Marianne. I'm going to text her. I talked to her earlier today and cleared this with her. So we're going to do that. And I could FaceTime her too, but I don't know. When I FaceTimed her earlier, the quality wasn't great. We could try it, but we're gonna text her. And then I'm gonna show you a couple, two different examples of some activist quilts, because we were talking about the AIDS quilt last time, right? And this live stream, if it's your first time here, it's different every time, very different every time, because there's so much to look at and so much to see in the wilds of the quilternet, right? We'll talk about history, we'll talk about current stuff, we'll look at art, all this stuff. So I found 2 examples. Here, I'll tempt you right now. I'll just show you what I mean. Against polarization. Look at this. I don't listen to NPR much. I don't know. I just can't. But look, so an artist leads a violent protest against polarization. I mean, so this in January 2020, Arizona artist Ann Morton put out a call on social media asking people to create 8-inch by 8-inch textile squares that use equal parts red and blue. The squares in the project as a whole stands for a set of values: respect for the other, citizenship, compromise, country over party, and corporate influence, and creativity. I mean, hey, Heather, hi. Oh, that's so cool. That's so great. I love this. I knew about this only because, I'm always looking for stuff, man. And then I put it into my notes document, which is very long. I'll never run out of content for y'all, believe me. And because the content keeps coming. If you're looking for it, if you're looking for quilts in the broader culture, you'll find them all the time, right? And I'm looking for you. But I love tips. So if you find something awesome, let me know. But isn't this great, So this is kind of an activist quilt project that I love. I mean, I just love the idea of, oh, look at her. She's so sweet. Yeah, look, they actually mention the project harkens back to the AIDS quilt, which Morton remembers seeing herself at the National Mall. I mean, isn't she fabulous? She's so fabulous. Yeah, I mean, it's so cool. So the violet protest. So this is what's coming of this, and I think surely this is 2020 or maybe early 2021. I'm not sure. And this looks like it's woven or embroidered, something like that. This looks like, yeah, embroidered, obviously on a fabric square. But this kind of stuff, it may make it into your Instagram. Fire for Hair Lady knows all things. She is a great source for me in many ways, and I love her very much. I love you very much. And I got your email, and yes, we're Zooming very soon. This week, okay? We'll work it out. This stuff may not make it into your Instagram, or it may not make it into your Facebook feed. Maybe it will. That's awesome. I always want to know what you find. But a lot of times it doesn't. It doesn't, and this is a quilt project, and I think it's really special. So that's the kind of thing you're gonna find and you're gonna learn about on this show. Is it a show? I don't know. It's a live stream. It's different. It's different from anything. So I'm gonna tell you I'm getting a perm. Spoiler alert. I'm gonna text with my mom. We're gonna look at this, which we did, check, and look at one other activist quilt or social awareness quilt kind of thing that was in Washington recently. And then we're going to continue with part 2 of the AIDS quilt thing that we looked at. And we're going to watch the rest of that movie, Common Threads. In the part we're going to watch, we've got about 2/3 of it left, about 40 minutes, just so you can plan out your day. And you can drop in, you can check out of this stream, you can come back. It's real loose. It's cool. It's like this. Yeah, that's my sound effect. If you just came, that's my Dusty Springfield sound effect. I'm really getting into this Twitch thing. The big Twitchers, the twitchy people, they have these sound effects and buttons and things. So yeah, fake it till you make it. Yeah. So in the rest of the movie, we're gonna see Whoopi Goldberg. We're gonna see, I think they show Liza Minnelli was at the big unveiling of the quilt when it was on the National Mall. I think either the first time or the second time. The second time they put the quilt out on the National Mall, it was enormous. It was huge. We'll see that. And these celebrities were there to read names, because that's what they did. They read all the names of all the people who were on the quilt, names of people who had died of HIV/AIDS. And Liza did, Whoopi Goldberg did. There were a lot of celebrities. So we'll see them. Okay. And that's what we're gonna do. Who knows? Who knows what else? Okay. So let's go over here. Let's go to this so that you know that I'm serious and we're getting really close. Look, I just pressed that button and it brought up this image, which is where we left last time, I think. So I've said a lot. I think you're ready. I'm relaxed. I'm a little more relaxed. Which is ironic, because I do just want to mention that I am going to get a perm. Let me just say something. Okay. I have always changed my hair a lot, like since I was in high school. I've been blonde, I've had it bobbed, I've had bangs, which they call a fringe here. They call it a fringe. I know, Nori, my buttons, I love, and I don't even have them all programmed yet. Like, you see those, what's dark? Those are all buttons waiting to be programmed. It's very exciting. So I've had a bob, I've had a pixie cut, I've been blonde, I've been red. Hate it. for me. I mean, just, I've done it all, you know? And the thing that I haven't done is a perm. Now, I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, what are you thinking? And I know what you mean, because the perm that I have in my mind is the perm from like the 80s and the early 90s. And I'm from a real small town in Iowa, and God bless the girls. But the perms, you know, they were kind of like, you know, and the bangs, they like sprayed the bangs up, and they were just kind of like crunchy perms and kind of bad. But you know, do you realize that the 1980s were 40 years ago? And the 90s were like 30 years ago. Perms have come a long way. They've come a long way. Yeah, poodle curls, exactly, Kirsten. That was what they were like. So I literally Googled, do people get perms anymore? And yes they do. Not many, but I got a bowl cut a couple years ago. Loved it. I was like, what haircut do people not have anymore? And I was like, a bowl cut. I got one of the best haircuts in my life. So I researched, and of course, if you're going to get a perm anywhere in the world, London, right? A London salon, they're going to be able to do it right. So I did some calling around, and I found somebody amazing, and I'm going to do it. You know, you can do it different ways now, and like they've come a long way. The perms have come a long way. There's like, they're eco-friendly now, and they have all kinds of different ways, and I'm going to do it. I'm going to get a perm. And if it's a disaster, it'll be hilarious, because you'll be like, wow. Wow, Mary. Bleh, and I'll be live, and I can't hide it. So I'll either wear like a turban. See, volume, that's what I want. My hair is like so wimpy. So maybe I want like a Meg Ryan sort of like crazy thing. Okay. So that's what's going to happen. Hopefully next week. It takes a while to get into a perm appointment. I really want curly hair. Okay, so I'm going to do a couple things. I got to quit this. We are going to call my mom first, or text my mom. That's what we're going to do. So if anybody has a question for Marianne, we're gonna ask her. Sorry, I have to do this. Okay, great. We're gonna do, if anybody has a question for Marianne, quilt related or not, you know, getting used to this this Twitch thing and building the audience, you know, I'm nervous. Like, if somebody comes in for the first time, are they going to stay? Are they like, where's the quilts? Where are the quilts? And, you know, they're definitely coming. And if you've been here before, you know they are definitely coming. Stay till they come. But to talk to Marianne, you know, that's fun. That's fun. And she's quilt related, right? And I'm related to her. Okay. So let's see. I don't think there's anything that's not showable here. I mean, I've got a couple emails. Let me do this. I just want to make sure everything's okay. Copacetic here. All right. That's just our earlier. Look, this is her schedule. 1 p.m. FaceTime with Mary. 2:30 Twitch, and then her writers group. Okay, so hi, Mom. Oh, hey, Virginia. Hi. Yeah, you know, Wi-Fi, it comes and goes. It's watch it later. Yeah, and if you can't watch now, folks, you can watch the playback later on my channel for 60 days. It only lasts 60 days. Are you okay to come on the Twitch stream? Okay, hang on here. So if you have a question for Mom, well, Virginia, if you have a question for my mom, let me know. Okay, Kirsten has a question. What does your mom think of your perm idea? Okay, great. Awesome. Okay. We have a question from the chat. Kirsten would like to know what you think about this perm idea I have. LOL. What's her favorite part of quilting? Great question, Belle. And what's her least favorite part? Great. And then I have another. First time I take a drink of wine when I'm talking to my mother. I'm just saying. I'm gonna open my chips too. Oh yeah, okay. Oh. Hang on. I had to do a thing. Okay. Your hair has always been an ongoing work of art. I have to do an emoji. That one, sob. I love you. That's amazing. But notice she didn't say, like, it's gonna be great. That was very diplomatic, right? I mean, it could be a disaster, you guys. It really could. I'm prepared. These are mature cheddar and red onion. Oh, I'm hiding the chat. Sorry. Oh, no, I'm not. Okay, I'm not. Oh, yeah, apologies I didn't generically pass on to you my naturally curly hair. Yeah, thanks a lot. I mean, oh. Yeah, curly hair. Okay. Quilt-related question. What's your... I know, perms are super scary. Okay, Kirsten... Oh, it's an I. Kirsten asks, what's your favorite part of quilting? Your least favorite part? While she's doing that, I'm going to pull up a picture of Mom. It's a good question, so Kate. Let's see. She's thinking. She's thinking. You see her thinking? Wow. Whoa. I just found a picture of my dad. That's crazy. What? You want to see a picture of my dad? Okay. Here's the lady. Okay. You know, we've been through a lot, Mom and I. It's good stuff. All right. What did she say? I love the moment when I can see my design is working. Great answer. Just bring this over here. I'm going to hide this. I'm going to hide this. Sorry, I want to make things nice for you. I'm working on the layout. Okay. I love the moment when I can see my design is working. Same. Okay, that was a great question. The moment when I say to myself, wow, yesterday this was just a pile of fabrics and now it's going to be a beautiful quilt. I love that. Yeah, sometimes, like right now, all hand pieced, by the way. I just am not sure until I make a few blocks. It can be scary. I also love hand turning the binding. Yes, I also love that. What about the least favorite? What does she think about modern quilts? Great. Oh my gosh. My least favorite part is making the backing. Sometimes I mess up the math. Yeah, the backing. I don't know, sometimes I just wing it. I mean, I just like, I cut, like I just make it really big and then I trim it down. You know how I said people are good at different things? I wing a lot of stuff. Heather knows that. Okay, I put a little applique present in the mail to you to London. Okay, great. I'll show it when it arrives. You're the best. Okay, next question. I'll ask two more, okay? I mean, we've got, we got a lot to do tonight, so. But, Mom could come by every time. And maybe we could FaceTime her. I just want to make sure, the internet works. Sunbonnet Sue. Oh, interesting. She's sending me some kind of Sunbonnet Sue applique thing. That's fun. You know what we could do? We could do, let's look at Sunbonnet Sue at some point, right? We could do, when did Sunbonnet Sue sort of happen first? There's a really, really brilliant quilt that's pretty famous, called The Death of Sunbonnet Sue. Whoops. It's hilarious. Okay, so let's see. Oh, Belle, that was really good. Was it hard to sell? Oh, that's great. Marianne, I love it. Let's see. Hang on. So Kate. Okay, yeah. So I'm going to ask So Kate's question, and then I'm going to ask Nori's question. Okay? Oh, and Bip, I got to ask your question too. Okay, 3 more. But then that's what I'm going to ask. Okay, 3 more questions. First one. I see. Okay, Bip, yeah, okay. Was it hard to sell the business? Your baby. As Belle put it. Yeah, interesting. Okay, I'm gonna look this thing up while we're doing that. Okay, sorry, I'm pulling this up. I need to, yeah, okay. Let's see. Okay, Mom. Mom, you don't have to craft a perfect sentence. She's writing, all the time now, so. We're all hanging by a thread. Wink. Okay. So no, it wasn't hard to sell the business. The process was complicated, but the business was owned by 3 people, so it couldn't be taken up by any of our families. Right. Okay. Okay, now I'm gonna ask Bip, the story of how she and Liz Porter met is a little bit longer. I mean, it's a little bit longer of a story. She'll be back. I'm gonna ask her about modern quilts. Okay, rapid fire, and then I'll let you go. 2 questions. Question 1. From Bip. I'll call you Bip. Hang on. I'm going to do something crazy. That's right. I'm going to do something crazy. I mean, I don't know. We're going to see. I'm just going to see. I'm going to call her. I mean, I don't know where to look. She might not like it. See, the camera's up there, so I don't know. I mean, yeah, she might not get it. If she, hi! Oh my God. We didn't talk about this. We didn't talk about it. So I mean, is it okay?
Okay.
It's not like there's not hundreds of people here or anything. I mean, not yet, you know. So we're among friends. But I just thought,
And
like,
I'm not in my pajamas, thank goodness.
yeah, exactly. Well, the quality isn't great because I think, like, when the stream is going, you know, so it's not gonna. But I just have 2 more questions for you, and I thought it would be faster to just ask you instead of, you know, people are loving it. Okay, so the first question, it's so great. Okay, what do you think about modern quilts? Bip is asking. I love that nickname, Bip.
Oh well, I love them, and I mean, when the modern movement came along, which has been a long time ago now, I was thrilled, you know, that these women younger than me were as excited about quilts as I was when I was like 25 and 35 and 45.
Yeah.
So, you know, I'm all for quilts.
And we did a thing at QuiltCon, not this past year, right? But the year before the pandemic, right before the pandemic.
No, year of the pandemic.
That's right, because it was February, and then the ish hit the fan in March, right? But that was awesome. I talked to you about.
That was last.
Yeah, that's
the last time I was on an airplane with Austin.
Yeah, except for coming to England twice. Same. No other flights except those. So everybody's really excited that you're here, and so am I. Kirsten says in the chat that she was at the QuiltCon lecture, and she loved it. That's so cool. And everybody's really happy to see you, Mom. So I think maybe this has to be a regular thing. I mean, people really love seeing you. Do you know that? Like, they really, really miss you. You know?
I got to tell you, we had the busloads of quilters are coming back to Winterset now.
Oh.
And the other day, there was a group of 50 that had lunch at a cafe, and I went over to do a little a trunk show.
Oh,
and
cool.
as I came out of yoga that morning, I said to my friend, I said, you know, I'm not so sure I'm anymore. You know, I'm just not out there.
You're not so sure you're what? Relevant?
Relevant. And she said, I think it'll be fine. You know, so I told the group that. I said, you know, I used to know all the owners of all the businesses. I used to know everybody who was teaching. I go in the know, and I'm like, I don't know any of that stuff now. And I told this to these 50 quilters, and they just laughed.
Yeah. I mean,
they said, you're relevant.
Mm-hmm. Forget it. I mean, you know, you're Marianne. You're royalty, right? Okay. So.
Yeah.
And Marianne, my friend here in England, who I adore, who I owe so much to, she says that it's like quilt your heart out, but different. She says maybe twitch your heart out, or is that weird? I love it. I think a live stream is different from anything that's ever been before, and it's not like a show. It's like it's a phone call. It's a phone call.
We're not selling anything.
That's right. So okay. So
joy. We're just feeling joy.
Mom, Rhonda Kernodle, I like saying Rhonda Kernoodle, says, Marianne, you will always be relevant. You will always be relevant. Okay, so the other question is from Nori, who's a favorite as well, because all the people who are here now are like the ride or die, like they're the early adopters, right? They're the people who are like, okay, cool, Twitch, I'll make an account. Like, it's new to me, but like, yeah, let's see what Mary's doing. And there's just this core group of people who I really appreciate because they trusted, like, okay, let's do this thing, and I'm new at it, and they don't care, It's pretty awesome. So Nori is one of those people, and she asks, does your mom have other hobbies other than quilting? What other things is she passionate about? I think I know what you're going to say, but please say it.
Well, yeah. I mean, I like going to yoga class, but it's not a hobby. I don't take any yoga magazines or go to yoga conferences or anything like that. It's just something I really like to do, and had a fabulous session here on Washington Island yesterday. Oh my gosh. And then
wait, you should tell people where you are. I'm sorry to interrupt, but you should tell people where you are.
I'm on Washington Island. I was trying to get the hummingbirds in the background here. They'll be coming back. I'm on Washington Island, Wisconsin, and we have a cottage up here, and I spend the month of August here just about every year for my sojourn of solitude. So I've been here alone since early August, just me and the dog, and I do see people from time to time, but I just have hours and hours just by myself, and I love it.
Sounds pretty good.
So I'm working, as you know, on a novel, and I think back, people might say, oh, now she wants to be a novelist, but I mean, I wanted to write stories when I was young, but I thought only men were novelists. That sounds so crazy, but I thought it was something that I really couldn't do, and so I've had to wait. Then quilting came along, and I had a career as a writer of books, quilting, so I wrote for a living, really, and wrote TV episodes and so forth. And so only now that, I started in my 60s, do I have the freedom, the time to pursue fiction. And so I find myself, and I feel kind of like a traitor in a way saying this, but I'm a little less interested in quilts than I used to be.
Yeah,
because
that's cool.
I've done all of that for so long, and I don't feel like keeping up with everything. And I have more and more writer friends. One of them's coming to visit me. Lisa Weimer's coming on Tuesday from Milwaukee to visit me.
Great.
She's used the cottage for her own writing, and so it's just I'm just turned to that, and the work I'm working on right now is going really well, and it makes me happy. It makes me as happy as when a quilt is going well.
That's good. Yeah, that's cool. Well, you mentioning that just now, we should make quilts together. We should do that again, right? We haven't made one together in a long time. And I'm not shy about saying it, like we've been through a lot, Mom, and there was a time where, I don't think, it wasn't the right time for us to make a quilt together, but the time is so right again. And I think that would be really special. So the next time I'm at Washington Island, I would really, really love that.
Oh, that's so great.
Yeah.
I would love that. It just makes me just almost giddy, the thought of doing that in the little boathouse, because the little boathouse was your idea.
It's true. So for people who don't know, which is probably everyone, this place that we have up
Should I walk outside?
Well, yeah, the resolution isn't, well, yeah, I don't know, the resolution is pretty bad. But because, I don't know, probably because you're up on in Door County and it's not gonna, I don't know. Mom, I don't know. I don't think you should.
I can't do that. I'll lose the connection.
Yeah.
No, I'll lose it. Yeah.
So all I'll say is that we'll let you go. But number one, this needs to be a thing on the Twitch stream every time. Like, it's fun. It's just fun. So if you're willing, we can talk about it. I don't want to put you on the spot. But that should be.
Me in.
Okay, good.
Easier than that.
Yeah.
I don't have to drive anywhere. I don't have to go anywhere.
And I think that when you're not in Door County on an island, it'll probably be a little bit clearer, the picture. But so that's number one. And number two, yeah, people love you. And number three, can you repeat what you said earlier when we were talking on the phone about lipstick? Because I just put on a little more lipstick because I was talking to you, and I was like, oh, it's one of the most like motherly things that you've said it a couple times, and it's just say, don't say like, I don't want to embarrass myself or you, but just like, what was the sentiment about it?
Oh, well, I mean, I have no problem saying it. So you put your red lipstick on, and I was like, I can't think of anyone in the world who puts on a red lipstick. And I mean, you're already beautiful, but you just become just like a movie star. And then, of course, I had to comment on your nostrils because you have such beautiful nostrils.
That's the part I wanted to get to. I mean...
Yeah, people don't realize, the nostrils. I mean, my best feature probably are my legs. I have these long legs.
Yeah.
But for you, it's the nostrils, among other things.
God. Well, I mean, the reason I wanted to mention it is because, like, it's such a mom thing to be like, and the first time you said it, you were like, you look so nice when you put on lipstick. And it was like, okay, I'll put on lipstick. Like, it was such a mom thing. Like, you look so nice when you comb your hair, honey. Why don't you give your hair a lick? Like Grandma used to say. But it was classic. You were like, you look so great with lipstick on. So, you did it tonight when you were like, you just transform. And then you said the thing about the nostrils, which, I mean, I'm not gonna put my nose up to the camera, but... Thank you very much. I don't know of any nostril competition. You'd win. That's great. Thanks. Okay. This was lovely, Mom. I love you very much, and it's really good to see you.
Well, thank you.
People love you.
Thank you for including me. I mean, how fun.
It's so great. And you should go back and watch this. Go back and watch it, because you'll see how people are happy to see you. So.
Oh, I got to get that app, right?
No, you don't have to get an app. You use your Amazon login to go to twitch.tv, and then just you have to make an account, but it's not a big deal. It's not like buying something or doing something. Don't be afraid.
Then I can see your lips. I can see your lipstick then.
Exactly. And my nostrils.
Yeah.
Okay,
And
I love
dimples,
you.
the dimples.
Yeah, my dimple.
Bye.
Okay, I'll see you later. Bye. I love you. Bye. All right, that was nostrils. Okay. So that was fun. You never know what you're gonna get. Okay. So we did that. That happened. Great questions from folks. Let me bring up this thing. Okay. So we talked to Mom. Did that. How are you doing? Is everybody okay? I hope so. That was great red nail polish. It's true. It's the same thing, as red lipstick. Sometimes you just gotta do a little red, especially if you have very pale skin. I mean, I'm like a pasty vampire, like that pale. It's not great. I don't tan. I go out and I'm in the world and I don't wear shorts because I'm so terrible. It's not good. I mean, it's like I blind you when you see me coming. So I don't tend to wear shorts. But it's true. Red can work, and my nostrils are amazing. So what do I care about my legs? What do I care about shorts? Okay. So we're going to switch. We're going to transition into some different material, right? Moms can be universal on some things. It's so true. You should you're so pretty when you wear lipstick, or are you, I don't know. If your mom says, are you going to wear that? That's kind of like, it's kind of mean, kind of critical. Mom hasn't been that mom, I don't think. Sometimes. Nobody's perfect, but yeah, that's a pretty mom thing to say, you look so nice when you wear that blue dress, honey. It's like, okay, do you want me to wear the blue dress? Is that what I'm getting? Carol, you glow in the dark. I mean, same. It's, yeah, I'm almost translucent. Okay. So yeah, we're going to transition into the content that we were looking at yesterday. And it's, it's a somber topic. It's very, it's a different vibe. So for people who weren't here yesterday, we're going to talk about the quilt. Okay. We're going to talk about the AIDS quilt. And, if I didn't say that we were going to watch the rest of this film, maybe we would do something else tonight because, there's other things to show you. There's always other things to show you. But I also want to be consistent with you. When I say we're going to look at something the next day, I want to do that because I want you to feel like there's some continuity. You know, I want you to finish, you know, something that we start, all of that stuff. As I go on, I'm like shaping this thing with you, you know. So we're gonna return to that, and we're gonna finish this film, which is, let's see, okay, it's about an hour of the film. But I know that a lot of you are sewing, and a lot of you are, you know, just doing stuff, and I'm on in the background. You're kind of like listening a little bit and coming back and all that. So that's good. Or you're glued to the TV, or the computer, or your phone. I don't know. But we're gonna go back to this, and we're gonna see what we think, and we're gonna learn about the AIDS quilt. And for those who weren't here before, just briefly, you know, I didn't know anything about the AIDS quilt for a really long time. People would ask me about it when I told them I was a quilter. Just, you know, someone on a plane I was talking to, they would say, oh, the AIDS quilt, like, you know, that was the reference point they had. Usually like, oh, my grandma made quilts, or my sister makes quilts, but they didn't have, and they talked about the AIDS quilt, you know. So I decided to learn about it, and I gave a lecture on it, and so now we're gonna look at some of the stuff that I learned, and I want to learn more. So here we go. This movie is Common Threads: Stories from the Quilt, 1989. Dustin Hoffman narrating, and yeah, let's do it. Let's do this. Okay, and I'll stop sometimes and make comments, but I won't do too much. Okay.
In just 2 years, the number of AIDS cases was nearly doubling every 6 months. The government declared AIDS its #1 health priority. Yet of the $3.8 billion spent on health research in America, less than 1% went to this epidemic.
For the better part of the month of October, he was feeling pretty lousy. I tried to get him to eat his dinner, and he couldn't, and he went upstairs and went to bed about 8:30, 9 o'clock, and was feeling very miserable. And I called his doctor at home and told him that I was even more concerned than I had ever been. And so he told me to have him admitted to the emergency room right away. And he walked in and, of course, never came out. David died at 4:30 in the morning of 19 November, and I was required to be at my desk at the Pentagon at 8 o'clock in uniform, ready to work. Looking like a prim and proper naval officer, having just lost one of the most important people in my life. Although the Navy thought that I was carrying on Navy business, most of that day I was on the telephone talking to funeral directors and cemeteries and planned the funeral.
This was not going to happen to me. You know, it was like 3 or 4 years all this was going on, and it didn't reach me in a scary sense until it became clear that anybody could get AIDS. I mean, suddenly I was knowing a dozen people who were sick instead of 2. Suddenly there were 30 people who were sick instead of 4. And it hit you like an overwhelming wave of water. I mean, suddenly cold water was thrown in your face. Everybody was dying.
Any gay male who got a cold automatically got scared to death. They've got AIDS. So here I'm seeing the same thing. He's got a cold. He said, oh, great. Now you think you got...
By the way, like, does that not happen with COVID now? Like, you know, like I had allergies. I think I did have a cold earlier this summer, and Eric too, and we were just like, I mean, what is this, right? Is it a cold? It's just so interesting. I mean, when I was learning about this stuff, and certainly during the AIDS crisis, I mean, I was a child. I mean, I was very young. So it was different. But I mean, now watching this content, we have been living through, a pandemic. And the AIDS crisis, I mean, I don't know. I mean, some people, I don't know. I mean, an epidemic, a pandemic, the infectious diseases experts would be able to shed light on, you know, which is which, you know, what qualifies as what. You know, there were people at really high risk for HIV/AIDS, and there were people at less high risk. In a pandemic, you know, that's true too. But the AIDS crisis, I mean, what she just said, that people were afraid they would get a cold or they would, you know, get a flu, and they were terrified that it was that, you know. And I've experienced that. Exactly, Kirsten. I mean, yeah, you're just like, is it this? I mean, I was kind of like having, maybe it was psychosomatic, I don't know, but I was having kind of some, I thought wheezing or something, and I was like, oh, you know, scary. Anyway, so we have a frame of reference for that now, which is strange.
Got to join the rest of the crowd. You know, I just thought, how crazy, you know. I wouldn't even let it into my head.
I remembered reading an article about a baby in San Francisco who had died, and they had traced it back to the blood transfusion it had received. And the alarm started going off in the back of my mind, knowing that my son used immense amounts of blood factor. And you start getting more and more scared as there are more and more stories.
The American Red Cross is recalling vials of a blood product used by hemophiliacs. The product was made with blood plasma from a donor who had AIDS, acquired immune deficiency syndrome, and the Red Cross is now trying to avert a new scare.
All this because one man gave 1 pint of blood at an undisclosed Red Cross center last year. This spring he was diagnosed as having AIDS, and he died in May.
You just sit there because what choice do you have? Do I continue to allow him to live by using the blood product? Or do I risk him even more? He may not get AIDS if I deny him that blood product, but what else, what other kinds of injuries could he get because I don't give him that which he needs? And you go the only way you think best. I want him to live as well as he can now.
Amazing.
He said, "This is inside my body, I know it. I'm so scared." And I should have listened, but I didn't. Because Jeffrey was always complaining about something. He fell and he broke his wrist that week. He had the flu. He was feeling like shit. Until he got so sick that he collapsed outside the doctor's office. I remember I took a 6 o'clock flight from Newark, and I went directly to Children's Hospital, which is where he was. And the first thing I saw was a nurse outside of Jeffrey's room putting up signs which were precautions for bodily fluids and blood. And of course, I mean, that's it, you know? And I remember running into the room. I pushed the door open. And he was sitting in the bed, and he looked at me and he said, "Honey, did you hear?" And I didn't have to hear. You know, I just knew because of the signs they were putting up outside his door. And I sat on the bed and I told him that we were gonna do this together. That this was, you know, it's gonna be all right. I wanted so much to convince him that I knew immediately, just from what I knew in the community, that if he didn't fight, he would die. And the doctor told me that, you know, he was gonna die. I mean, this was it. And I told him that I was gonna move to San Francisco, that I would leave my job, and I would close my apartment, and I would be there, and I would take care of him. And he said, "Do you realize the commitment you're making?" Because he knew me. And I said, yes. And I did. And I knew it was not going to be easy, and it was not easy.
So many.
He was a very active man. He was always on the go. If he didn't have anything to do, he'd walk around the neighborhood. He just was not the type of person that would sit out and watch TV, for instance. And He didn't have any energy. The only thing we kept on was he had some sort of virus. He had a viral infection. Nothing was taking the fever away and nothing was making him better. We didn't know what it meant. We just knew it meant something bad because at the time he came in and he said, the nurse said, well, people don't live with 40 T cells. You got to be dead already. And he said, it made a point with him because he kept saying, well, I'm supposed to be dead already. I'm supposed to be dead already.
They test him for everything. Nope, come up negative. Everything negative. He was not satisfied. He just wasn't. I said, Tom, it's as if you're looking to have, what is going on? I remember this one day, he turned and was walking away from me here. And I really did see that he's been losing weight.
Yeah.
Listen to the muscular, strong, healthy, vibrant Tom. For the first time, I said, could it be possible? I mean, could it be possible?
He's yeah.
Dear child, tonight when I was brushing my teeth, I noted some white patches on my tongue. Sweetheart, I hope it's nothing, but there's a possibility that this is an early sign of AIDS. The horror I feel and the fear of leaving you before you ever really know me is my greatest concern.
Back now at 7:17 with a question. Is the deadly disease AIDS now a health threat to the general population? The government today tried to reassure people that there's no evidence AIDS is breaking out into the general population. Assistant Secretary for Health, Edward Brandt.
What's important is that there is no reason for panic among the general public.
You know, I'll never forget reading Life magazine when they said, we should all pay attention to AIDS now because now this disease is beginning to strike the rest of us. And I thought, am I not the one holding this magazine in my hand? It took 3 or 4 years before the press picked it up. And only when it became clear that it might enter the heterosexual population.
Gay men continue to be hit hardest, accounting for 3 out of every 4 Americans with AIDS.
Oh, sorry.
In major cities, gay men and their supporters marched to call attention to the government's failure to respond.
I'm just gonna put this up here so people know what's going on.
Demand state and federal funding. Demand. We must go through this together. Our greatest asset has been the strength in our unity. This is a fight for all of our lives. Thank you.
Most people still thought AIDS was a disease only of gay men. But more and more heterosexual men and women and children were turning up with the symptoms. AIDS would soon become the leading cause of death for hemophiliacs.
I want to read what Fire for Hair Lady says. She says, I've been reading a new book that's a history of ACT UP in New York. Is it written by Sarah Schulman, Fire for Hair Lady? Because that's, I mean, if it's like an oral history, I think she did the oral history. She's amazing. And it's based on a series of oral histories. Okay. Taken over 20 years by the author, Sarah Schulman, right? And it's a really great book. And it also shines light on how a lot more women were involved in the fight for AIDS healthcare, yes, and treatment than the media typically showed. However, it's like 700 pages long, so not a quick read. Exactly. She's a hero of mine. I got to meet her. Everything she has written is brilliant. Brilliant. Sarah Schulman. I showed the preview last time. If y'all were here last time, I showed, and Heather, you have to watch it. She did a documentary with, I forget his name. It's called United in Anger. Yeah, women and people of color. True. The lesbian part of the AIDS, activism is very interesting, very complicated, right? Like for some of the folks that were involved in that, it was very interesting, which you know all about because of the book. It's United in Anger. I mean, I don't think that's the name of the book, but Sarah Schulman. Okay, great. Yeah, you got to watch it. It's amazing. Okay, yeah, great tip. Thank you. Wow, look at that. I mean, in just a few years, right? Skyrocketing. Like the COVID numbers, right?
When he was, I think, 7, we had a friend of the family who passed away from AIDS. This was a young man in his mid-20s who had hemophilia. And the day that we got the news that Steve had passed away, David and I did a lot of hugging that day, just wanting to touch each other a lot. But that night, when I put him to bed, and as I was tucking him in, he looked up at me and he said, "I'm going to die of AIDS too, aren't I?"
Oh my God.
And I have this sense in the back of my mind that from then on, David was getting ready to die.
Tom's worst fear and nightmare was, God forbid, in case he would have given it or passed it on to us, meaning Jessica and myself. And I went and got tested. There's something to that weight that really can drive you crazy. I mean, it makes you crazy if you weren't before. And we get there. I remember getting in the counselor, the person that tells you we get in. He says, "Well, I'll get to the point." I go, "Please do." He says, "You're negative." "Absolutely." I said, "You sure? Check the numbers." "You're negative." I just jumped for joy. I remember rushing home and telling Tom, and he was so excited. Thank God. The only thing it didn't do was take away the fact that he still had AIDS.
I remember noticing that there was a dark spot on the back of my knee, like inside the hollow behind. And I noticed it, you know, I think most people did by accident. You know, I just looked and there it was. And I couldn't lie to myself. I wasn't, because I was more sophisticated about this disease than I think the average person, and I knew immediately what I was seeing. And of course you hope that it's not. I mean, everybody does. But I immediately made an appointment to see my doctor in New York.
By the way, I just want to say that, I don't know, maybe I don't need to mention it, but I if I look down at my computer and I'm like typing something, I'm pulling up something to show you later. I think just out of respect, I want to tell you that so you don't think I'm like emailing or like doing something else. Like this is what I'm doing. And so there's a picture I want to show you later. So that's what I'm doing. I just want to let you know. I mean, if you're talking to someone and they're like on their phone, like I hate that. So that's not what's going on. Okay.
The phone rang, and it was my doctor in New York, and he said, "I can't believe this, but the biopsy came back negative. It was a mole." And it was incredible. I mean, just incredible to hear this news that in fact it was not KS. And
Kaposi sarcoma.
2 days passed, and again the phone rang at the AIDS Foundation. Is my doctor, and he said, "I will never, ever be able to make this up to you."
Oh God.
And I don't know how to tell you this, but the lab switched your slide with the slide of an 86-year-old heterosexual woman who has gotten a KS diagnosis, which is not possible. So I'm sorry to tell you this, but it turns out it's positive after all, and you do have KS. And at that point, I sort of felt like, you know, Susan Haywood and I Want to Live, you know, with the governor giving her a pardon every 5 minutes and then the phone ringing. It just drives you nuts. You know, the stress was enormous. I was at the end of my emotional rope. And this was the final verdict. The final verdict was that I had AIDS.
This taped concert aired on cable systems last month. Predictably, it did not receive rave reviews from the gay community. In protest, this record store in San Francisco's Castro district will no longer stock Eddie Murphy tapes and records.
Wow.
Murphy's manager says he's not anti-gay, but anti-AIDS.
The gay plague, as AIDS has been called, is the center of a political storm.
The moral majority claiming AIDS is God's punishment for the gay lifestyle.
All this media attention and sympathy for these AIDS victims just really bothers me. Let's call a spade a spade.
Oof.
AIDS is a venereal disease, and the vast majority of its victims are a group of abnormal people with a very strange and unusual lifestyle.
Oh, man. Like, oh. You know, I just, you know, my goal is not to come on here and tell you how I feel about stuff unless I can't help it, right? Like, that's an abominable opinion. Everybody needs love. Somebody who's sick, somebody who is sick and gonna die. And you're gonna be like, well, I guess, you know, you shouldn't have been the way you are. It's just, I'm sorry, lady. Shame. Shame, shame, shame. I am shaming you. There's just no excuse. Someone's dying. And people are dying in great numbers, and you're gonna be like, well, I'm sorry, let's call a spade a spade. They're bad people. No, not on this live stream, honey. No.
Cleve Jones and Mark Ostfield are homosexual, both victims of an increase in anti-gay violence that many contend is being fueled by fear of AIDS.
You don't have to like it. like you don't have to like it. I mean, you know, it's okay if you don't approve, if you don't whatever. But shut up. I mean, just don't go on TV and say that, you know? Like, am I wrong? You know, if like somebody, if a group of people I don't like, you know, were dying in large numbers. Gee, let me think. Am I gonna go like to a press conference and say that they deserve it? No, I'm not. And I'm no angel. But I ain't doing that shit.
AIDS. That's what happened to Charles Howard, a 23-year-old homosexual from Bangor, Maine. He was attacked, pushed over a bridge, and drowned.
Parents were afraid 3 brothers, Ricky, Robert, and Randy Ray, all hemophiliacs, would spread the AIDS virus they got from blood products. The Rays left Arcadia after their home burned in a suspicious fire.
Oh my God.
But the year-old
Seeing what happened to the Ray family, he just voiced, you know, can this happen to us, Daddy?
What?
And I told my sister, I don't know. I can't answer that, honestly. I can't give you an honest answer. And he was asked by a reporter one time how he felt about AIDS.
We have the right to do everything that everyone else does. We have the right to run around and play. We have the right to go inside someplace without having to fear shame that, oh, I have AIDS, oh, I might give it to someone, because
they're hiding his face, like, you know, like he's in shadow because he's in danger. Like this child's in danger because he has a disease that he didn't ask for. I mean, like, go ahead and give me your argument, right? For why. I mean, it's just like insane.
That's what I felt for a while before I really realized anything. I felt, oh God, what if I did give it to someone? Or what could happen? And it was really starting to scare me.
Dave and I talked about letting people know whether he had AIDS or not. I read an article that there was a lotion being sold in Arcadia, strawberry scented, and you could rub it on your children's skin and it would protect you from AIDS. And the people were buying it. And all of a sudden, I just couldn't trust anybody to behave responsibly, to make the effort of finding out what AIDS was all about.
We didn't come from a different planet. We're still the same human beings that they are. We just have a little different. No difference in ourselves. And I don't see why anyone should put some person down for that.
The word just spread so fast. But I remember I called everyone up, all in Los Angeles, and I said, I want to meet everyone at my sister's house. And I want to have something I have to tell everyone. I told them that Tom had AIDS. And their first things, don't go near him. Don't let Jessica near him. It's like, don't, you catch it in a tear. It's just the education problem, what they knew. Now, I didn't know all that much more. And of course, being in Los Angeles, they're reading about Rock Hudson and everyone else. And now it struck the family. It was very sad. And what I told them is that I wanted their respect and I wanted Tom treated just like anyone else. This is the situation. He's going to be dying. I want to make sure people are there. And the biggest thing is that whatever the services, at the time we hadn't discussed it, obviously not the last thing I wanted to discuss was services, but if there was a funeral, I expected every single one of them to be there. And if I didn't get that love and support, and I'm very close with my family, and I truly meant it, that if there was one person that backed off, that they'll never see myself or Jessica again.
Look at that, how it jumped.
Each of us must take the responsibility for keeping AIDS out of our lives.
Last month, the federal government began a formal AIDS education campaign with the release of these and other public service announcements. The U.S. was one of the last developed nations in the world to undertake an AIDS education campaign, and critics say the ads still do not contain enough specific information. The critics point out that the president did not mention the word AIDS in public until he was asked about it in September 1985. Bauer says it was not necessary for the president to talk about AIDS before then.
When it became clear that the disease was going to be a much more major challenge than anyone thought, the president then, I think appropriately, decided to speak out and has done that repeatedly and will do so again in the next 14 months.
Agreed,
Mr. Reagan said prevention is better than a cure. He sided with his education secretary, William Bennett, and other conservatives who say that the government should not provide sex education to children. The Surgeon General disagrees strongly.
We can no longer afford to sidestep frank, open discussions about sexual practices, heterosexual and homosexual.
I don't quarrel with that, but I think that abstinence has been lacking in much of the education.
That angers some critics.
Until the Reagan administration realizes that the government's responsibility is saving lives and not saving souls, we will continue to see the virus spread through our society.
You know, one thing about the fear stuff, I mean, you know, it's easy to be like, horrified, you know, by the prejudice, you know, and it is horrifying, right? But I mean, when I was in school in a really small town in Iowa, I mean, a town of 5,000 people in Iowa, you know, and it was like, I mean, I went to school, I don't know, I was born in 79, almost 80, clinging to that, right? And, you know, it was the 80s. I graduated high school in 97. So, you know, the AIDS crisis, like, I remember very well, and Kirsten and I want to mention Princess Diana, too, but I mean, I was terrified of AIDS, 1,000%. I mean, it's actually, I haven't thought about it in a long time. And I mean, TMI, right? But like, as I became an adult who was, you know, having boyfriends and things, right? One at a time. But like, I have to say, I was like, I went through a period of time where I was like, I have HIV. Like, I must be HIV positive because I had unprotected sex one time, okay? And it was like, I had the fear of God in me because of the way it was portrayed in the news. And I mean, look, the facts were horrible. It's a horrible way to die. It was terrifying. But then, of course, there was a stigma of the gay cancer, right? It was this, and drug addicts, I mean, it was really, really scary. And in, not that bigotry or prejudice is ever okay. It just isn't. You have to meet a person, talk to the person, get to know a person before you can hate that person, okay? You just got to give them the benefit of the doubt, and hating groups of people it's not logical. It's just not logical. You have to get to know someone before you can be not a fan. Anyway, and it's your right to say, I don't hang out with her. I don't hang out with them, But you can't do that about a group of people. You just can't. It doesn't make sense. But it's fair to say that if all you know about AIDS when it first comes out, there's this disease, it's totally okay to be scared. It was terrifying. All of the people who were in the high-risk community were scared. Oh my God. So it's just interesting. I don't want to get sanctimonious about how could they? It's not okay to be prejudiced about a whole group of people or about someone's lifestyle. So you don't like their lifestyle, fine, don't live like that. But it is okay to be terrified. I mean, COVID, I'm still scared of it. It's weird how as time goes on, I find myself forgetting to take a mask when I leave and then having to go back and get it, in the beginning. I mean, we didn't go outside, It's a strange human nature, man. Very strange. Very strange.
In the 7th year, the national debate over how to confront the epidemic had finally begun. But for those who already had the virus, the years of denial and neglect continue to take their toll.
Whoa. Oh my God. Carol, that must have been
He didn't want to be in the hospital.
Terrifying.
He wanted to die at home.
Look how wasted he is. I mean,
That's what his wish is. That's what we accommodated. There was nothing now to do except set up. At least we know that he's going to die, so now what do we do? To make the most of our daughter. He saw Jessica every day. It was unlimited. That was just a delight for him. He just couldn't get enough of Jessica. It's hard. So sweet.
Robert started getting ill, I guess, 2 years to 18 months before he died. People from Narcotics Anonymous would call him. People he had sponsored, people he had become friends with, who were struggling to get off drugs. And during the time when he could no longer go to the meetings, he'd lay in the bed and get phone calls, and he'd be on the phone for hours saying, yeah, man, I know how that is, but if you do this, it'll work. And he'd be encouraging them from his bed, but you could tell as soon as he hung up the phone, he had no energy anymore. And it would make me mad. I'd get so angry with him. How could he take all of this time with these people in this struggle? And I got selfish about his time.
We went in different directions in terms of dealing with our illness. And I think that each direction was exactly in tune with our individual personalities. I immediately got angry and began to learn everything I could about the disease. Jeffrey, on the other hand, did what Jeffrey always did. His personality was to retreat into his own world and to try things that offered easy hope. He got into a lot of mystical things.
Look how thin he is. Oh, God.
Stopped taking his medicine. And started having the color blue around the house. The color blue is a healing color. Figure that out, right? But he believed, and I thought, all right, maybe his belief system will carry him through. I had eternal hope, but at the same time, I was aware on some level that I was losing him completely. He was just in another world. I would come home and he would be lying on the sofa staring at the ceiling in a dark room, and that became the end of his life in a lot of ways. He just checked out.
He had wasted. I mean, the last time I took him to the hospital, he was And literally, I could pick him up in my arms and carry him. And when we went to the hospital, he said to me, I can't make atonement for everything I put you through. I said, atone? I said, you atone to God. You don't atone to your wife. You make atonement to your creator, the person who created you, not me. That's when I realized how close it was for him. He said, from this point on, it's going to be fast. He said, I don't want to die at home because you and the kid is there. He just totally gave up, and the spirit of the person that was there changed. The last time I saw Rob, I went and stood by the door of his room. I had told the nurse how badly I was feeling. So she took my temperature, and it was 105. And I said, well, I can't even go see Rob. She said, no, I think you should, stay away since.
Wow.
So I just went to the door and I looked. And he never turned around. He just was laying there like in a fetal position. And that's the last time I saw him.
Oh.
I remember standing at the door for a few minutes and just looking at him, wanting to go in real bad. And decided, no, it'd be best I didn't go in. And the next morning, my sister-in-law came, and they had called her that he had passed. So I didn't get to say goodbye. I just got to sit and look at him from afar.
I mean,
when I was diagnosed with
COVID, right? I mean, again, like that, for a lot of people, it's horrible.
Here we go. With AIDS, I didn't shed a single tear.
Yes.
And of course, most people, I think, when they first diagnosed, it just really blows them away. Well, all of my tears had been shed the year after David died, recognizing that, I was probably doomed. And so when the other shoe finally fell, it was just comforting, I guess, more than anything, to know that where I was headed. I am to be buried next to David in Rock Creek Cemetery, the oldest cemetery in Washington, and in a very beautiful spot.
It is beautiful. Yeah. If you know DC, Rock Creek, it's gorgeous. I found the picture I want to show you. Really good of the early
We were told
AIDS
that
quilt.
he would either be with
It's going
us
to be
at
great.
Christmas or he wouldn't. I wanted David to hold on to the magic of his childhood. That was his right. That's the right of every child, to hold on as long as they can.
How you doing?
Fine.
Good. You know me, don't you?
Yeah.
I knew one of the greatest things would be if he could visit Alf. David could relate to Alf.
Who do I send the bill to?
He had the soul of a con man. And I think David related to him because not only for his con artistry, but because Alf was different.
Aww.
I think David always had a sense of his difference from the rest of the world.
David, it was great talking to you.
Okay. I think you're great, Alf.
And I think you're great too. And I'm glad we had a chance to talk. And I want you to think, huh?
So am I.
And I want you to listen to me. I'm going to tell you something. I want you to think positive thoughts.
Oh, God.
All right?
Oh, my God.
I will.
You will. You do that for me.
I will.
Be good and think nothing but good things.
Okay.
Okay?
Have a Merry Christmas, Alf.
You too, David. Have a very Merry Christmas.
Okay.
Bless you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
His last Christmas, we tried to make it as best one as we possibly could. We went out, him and I went out, and it was the first year that I got a Christmas tree early.
Oh my God.
I guess he basically knew that this was going to be his last Christmas. And he tried to make it as good for us as we tried to make it for him.
I thought that too, Kate.
Never forget this. I was on the plane from Melbourne to Honolulu. And it's a long flight. It's 12 hours or something. And I was sleeping. The entire cabin was quiet. It was dark. And I woke up the way you sometimes wake up from a dream, but really startled. It was the middle of the night, and I heard a voice. Now I don't know whether I dreamed it or whether I really heard this voice or what, but I heard, Jeffrey always called me V, not Vita. And I heard, V. And I woke up in the cabin, and I remember I was like sort of sweating, and the stewardess came and she said, "Is there something I can do for you?" And I said, "No, I'm all right." And I went back to sleep. And I got to Honolulu in the morning, and Joe Brewer and I went out to lunch at Hamburger Mary's. And I went home to take a nap. And Joe came into the hotel room about 2 hours later, and he woke me up. And he said, "I got a call from San Francisco. And I have to tell you that Jeffrey got very sick and was taken to San Francisco General Hospital. And this morning he died." I went directly to San Francisco General. I needed to see him to prove to myself that he was gone. And he was there, and they took this drawer out, and he was covered with a sheet, but only his face was showing. And, to me, it was still Jeff. But it wasn't. No way was Jeff. He had that little bump on his nose that told me it was Jeff. And I remember I combed his hair, because he was always doing that. He used to just pull back his hair. And I took a comb out of my pocket, and I combed his hair, and I talked to him for a little while.
Watching the heart monitor stop it, the numbers kept coming down, lower and lower and lower. And then finally the nurse saying, "He's gone now." But I watched his chest inflate twice more. Almost as if wanting to get one more lungful of air. And I was there, and I watched his face, and I kept looking for a handle, looking for something to grab to keep him from going. But there was no handle.
I just remember one of the last things he said to her. He said he died or went into a coma, actually. He started going in and out. I just remember he had this big crystal ball on a pedestal.
It's hard to watch.
He says, "I have this wizard's ball, and I found it here. A wizard left it. And I want this to be very special. And it'll always bring you good luck and fortune. And just always know that Daddy will always be there. And I'll always love you." And she took that. And it was hard for her because she's got her Legos and goes back to the Legos. And instead, here I am crying, taking it all in. Here she is not understanding why he's leaving. And, okay, I heard that you're leaving. Thank you. But she was so sweet. And I see him, and he was in so much pain at that time. He's just trying to see the tears just rolling down. And that was his last time seeing Jessica. And that was it. And he passed away.
He and I talked about when we first met that we would be soulmates. It's like we would always have that bind that would connect our souls. And I think we will. I really do.
People had heard of the Names Project and asked me, "Are you making a panel for David?" They said, "Why don't you come down to the Lesbian and Gay Men's Center?" Which I gulped. I said, I'll have to ask my husband. We had not ventured very far out of our little middle America home into that area of the city. But we said, let's go. And we went down there and we found the room where they were working and met the man that I had spoke to on the phone. And I don't know, it seemed like 5 minutes later, David was very, very busy with helping them out with the mailing, and I was very busy stitching letters onto a person's panel. I was thinking of all the different things I wanted to put on David's panel, satins and bright colors and things that flew, just of all the possibilities of everything that would say to somebody, this was David. And suddenly, for the first time since my son's death, it was okay to laugh, really laugh.
In 1987, in a storefront in San Francisco, friends, families, and lovers began to piece together a quilt. They would soon be joined by tens of thousands of people from across the country, remembering loved ones lost to AIDS.
One of the things that the AIDS quilt did that, you know, maybe isn't even, well, I guess it's talked about sometimes, but I mean, the presence of the AIDS quilt, its like genesis and its existence. I mean, I talked about it a little bit at the top of the stream, but I mean, we kind of take for granted all of these community quilt projects. I mean, there's one everywhere for domestic violence, for sexual violence, for political. We talked about the project, you know, for sort of joining, you know, partisan conflict, you know, resolving partisan conflict, or reminding people in America that we're all Americans and we need to try to talk to each other, right? All of these community quilt projects. I mean, in the past there were signature quilts, charity quilts, you know, quilts that were made by a church group to raise money, you know, so you could say that's a community quilt project. But it wasn't like this. And now, if you know about something that preceded the AIDS quilt in this particular way, let me know. And there may have been, quilts were, you know, they were doing their thing, right? This is 1989, so, you know, 1986, 87, the quilt industry was like really a thing, right? So Cleve Jones, who started this project, I'll show you a couple really good pictures of him in a second, but he must have known, right? He must have been hearing about quilts. He must have been, because quilts were really everywhere by that time in the 1980s. I mean, you know, he wasn't like going to quilt shows. Maybe if he had a quilter in his life, maybe he did go to a quilt show. But I mean, you know, the quilt frenzy, you know, made the papers and stuff. So if there was a quilt shop that opened in San Francisco somewhere, or I should ask Julie Silber, when her quilt, you know, dealership, what was it called? Oh God, Julie had with a friend, she had a quilt store in San Francisco, or in Oakland. They were quilt dealers. I mean, Julie Silber still is, but I mean, they were selling quilts out of a storefront, right? I'm pretty sure. I'll get the exact details, but and when they started it, but like quilts were, you know, it was the mid 80s. I mean, the bicentennial, 76, by 86, quilts were a thing. So anyway, so quilts were sort of in the water, right? But the oh wow, but the AIDS quilt is really, as far as I know, it really does get credit for putting the notion of making a quilt as an awareness raiser, as a public display of, a cause, that I know of. Certainly it's the biggest still, but yeah.
I'm very proud that he has so many panels because that means that his message got across. The happiest thing that I feel, and I know Jessica will feel as we get older, is I think that we're just proud to have so many people love the same man that we love. After he died, I played some tapes that he had. I was listening to this one tape and he's talking to Jessica about Mama, and I love Mama, and you've got a wonderful Mama. But I gotta tell you, this one's for Mama. Remember all those times we played racquetball? I let you win. And I was crying. Judy was crying. And I heard that. Let me win! How dare you say that you let me win? Even to his dying days, it's like that competitive edge. He knew he still wanted me to remember and to have something.
What fun, this guy. It's such a shame.
Well,
It's terrible.
I entertained making the quilt for a long time. When I first heard about the quilt, I thought about it. I thought it would help to be a healing force. There was so much hurt and pain and guilt and desperation left when you lost somebody to this disease. How there was something to kind of relieve that.
I know. I don't know. Alfred was theatrical, but Robert would.
I had spoken to my mother, and she had said to me, "Are you going to get tested?" She said, "Well, if you're positive, I don't want to know it."
Yeah, that's nice.
And I said, "Okay, Mom, I won't tell you." 6 months later, my mother came to me and she said, "Did you ever take the AIDS test?" And I said, "Yeah." Well, what was the answer? What happened? And I said to her, "You told me not to tell you." She said, "Yeah, but I gotta know. I want to know." I said, "Mommy, I'm positive."
Oh my God.
"Oh no." And she didn't, you could sense the loss in her. She said, "I don't know how I'm going to deal with this." She said, "This is going to kill me. I can't take it." I said, "If it's the Lord's will that I don't make it and I get sick and anything happens, that's His will. So you can't protect me from whatever His will is." And she came through a lot stronger behind that. I've been positive for 2.5 years, and I'm well. And every day I'm prayerful and thankful that I am. In my mind, I've decided I'm not going to get sick. I don't have to get sick. I'm not going to let worrying about it make me sick. And that's how I've been coping. Now, whether it works or not, time will tell. But I feel great.
In the 48 years that I've been around, I've done more than many, many people do in a full 80 or 85 years on this earth. I've raised a family, had a successful naval career, been around the world many times, and loved and have really no regrets. Not that I wouldn't like to be around another 20 or 25, but I can't think of many things that I've left undone. The panel that I made has my name on it with my rank at Retirement Commander T.E. Torrey. David has a panel there, and I just would like to have one. And I just decided that if I was going to have one, I'd do it myself. Hang in there, buddy, because it won't be long before we're together again. And I truly believe that, and that's been one of the things that's I think been comforting to me. I do believe in an afterlife, and I just look forward to that.
Everything that I am tells me that nothing happens when you die. It is a state of unconsciousness, and that is it. Now, that's very hard for me to accept. I would like to believe that consciousness is eternal, and that in some form or another, that we exist. I don't think so. Intellectually, I don't buy it. I just think when you're dead, and that's it. You know, and that's why it's so important to do something while you're here. Because this is the only shot you get.
Act up, fight back, fight AIDS, act up.
The government, they've been criminally negligent. The President of the United States didn't say the word AIDS until thousands of people were dead. And so I've chosen to spend most of my time educating people, fighting, getting arrested, sitting in the street, blocking traffic, to call attention to this issue.
My name is Vito Russo. I'm a writer from New York City, and I have AIDS, and I'm here today because I don't want to die. I know that there are drugs out there that can save my life, and I want to know why they're not being tested more quickly. I'm here today because I don't want a quilt with my name on it to be in front of the White House next year.
If I live another 10 minutes or another 10 years, that's the way I'm going to spend my time, agitating for change, because change needs to happen. I met a guy in the doctor's office a couple of months ago who told me that all his friends were dead. And it took a couple of seconds for me to sink into what I was hearing. And he was a 32-year-old guy who said, I only have acquaintances now.
Interesting.
Left.
Heather, yeah.
And what's even more frightening is that that's not unique. And that you know a lot of people who just have lost all their friends. And that's an experience that I don't think many people have in a lifetime except during war.
War, yeah. You know, one thing, we're got about 15 minutes left of the movie. One thing that I read, and Heather, you've probably read this. What film is it in? I think it's in that United in Anger documentary, but I've heard several people speak of that time and say that after the AIDS crisis had passed, I mean, it's still raging in Africa. I mean, it's not over. There's no cure for HIV. But the people who were in this particular time, activists who were deeply committed, deeply, absorbed. I mean, they lived and breathed and ate, the cause. That after AZT, or I don't think that worked terribly well, but after there was some relief for some people, enough people that it was out of the news, I guess. But when the people who were working to change things got some measure of change, through the government, there was some relief, that a lot of them felt they were very depressed after the frenzy, the panic had come to a different level, right? That had tapered off for a lot of them, because it was like a war. And this is what they have said. They have said this. Many of the people who were in New York, in San Francisco, in Dallas and Houston, they felt a lot of loss because so many of their people had died in their communities, and of course people in their family and all that. But also they said often it gave them a sense of purpose. There was this very important, it was life or death, and they were so committed and so focused to doing as much as they could that when they went back to their normal life, it was terrible, right? For a lot of them, a lot of PTSD, a lot of depression, because they were like, what am I doing now? I mean, I was alive in a way, right? When I was fighting for AIDS, when I was fighting against this thing. Interesting. Yeah, exactly. Wow. Whoa, Marianne, that's crazy. It's odd. I don't know.
The AIDS epidemic in America is showing no signs tonight of slowing down. Federal health officials said today that 400 new AIDS cases now are being diagnosed in this country every week, and there were 20,000 new cases in 1987 alone.
The man who took charge of the Presidential AIDS Commission made it clear that he thought the government had failed to take charge of the AIDS epidemic.
I hope that the power of our recommendations, that this document you have, 270 pages with nearly 600 recommendations, is evidence that the system, for whatever reason, has failed and is not working well, and we better get on it.
Watkins said the problem was not just the AIDS virus.
It is a healthcare system that is woefully overburdened. It is a drug development system that is unresponsive. It is a nation that has a specter of drug abuse hanging all over its head.
Me
and
too,
we haven't
Nori.
dealt with it well. It's a nation that is frankly discriminating against other members of our society.
Right, yeah. I mean, yes. That's not debatable.
In the
It just
summer of
isn't.
1989, the number of AIDS cases reported in the United States quietly passed the 100,000 mark. More than 59,000 Americans have died. More Americans than died in the Vietnam War.
Whoa. Whoa. Didn't remember that.
Worldwide, up to 10 million people have been infected with the virus.
This is in 89.
One
Right.
new person is infected every minute, and there is one AIDS death every 30 minutes.
Brothers. In one family, brothers. Here, this is what I want. Sorry, I'm just taking footage for social media. $36.3 million.
Bill Krause, Bob Greenwood,
Bye.
Richard Anderson,
Thank you, Fire for Hair Lady. Thank you.
Reggie Hightower, Gary Barnhill, Simon Guzman, Lawrence, Randy Partlow, Stephen Quesada, Felix Velarde Munoz, John Riddler, Paul Walker, Bill Cathcart, Bobby Campbell, and my friend Marvin Feldman.
That's Cleve Jones, okay? That's
Jose Ramirez,
the guy who started it all. Sorry.
George Dutra, Scott Oatman, Gemini Jim, Dick Gamble, Todd Coleman, David Thompson, Larry Long, Frank Cook,
Yeah.
and my friend Jeffrey Phillips.
And sorry, there was a specific way that six people would come in. They would unfold it as you saw, or unfurl it, and they would unfold each block and turn it a specific number of times, you know, and then lay it out. And they walked on the sashing, right? So nobody ever walked on the quilt. You walked on the sashing to look at the names.
Alfonso McFadder, Rosemary, Marisol, Grenada Gillespie, and the babies that I have loved and cared for, Tony, Langstone, and Connie.
Alan, Bert, Dominic, Martha, Costa Catrales, William Paul Chase, David Wade, Dean McDowell, Bill Benville, Paul Richards, Hank Irons, Para todos los niños, my friends Peter Hujar, Tucker Ashworth, Robert Hayes, Antonio Lopez, and Peter Lester.
Wilbur Darley, Daniel Gallagher, Robert Johnstone, James L., my much cherished and loved 11-year-old son, David Lee Mandel, Jr.,
And my friends, Susan, Rose, and Tom.
And my beloved son, Gregory Connell.
And my beloved son, Zachary Jacob Freed, 5.5 years old.
And my beloved Jeffrey Stepchick.
It's really hard. Yeah.
Jeffrey was
Yeah.
a perfectionist, and I'm sure he'd hate this because I'm not. I'm a big slob, and I sort of put sloppy sequins all over it onto his name, and I think he would want those removed. You know, sometimes I look at his picture on my desk and I think, where the hell are you? He's got to be somewhere, right? And it's been almost 3 years now since Jeffrey died, and I still, every day, I wonder where he is. For me, the quilt is where Jeff is.
Paco,
Look at that.
Raymond,
I mean,
Tanya, Todd, York, Dennis Sutterer,
Our most precious jewel,
John,
our most beautiful son, John Anthony,
Johnny Boy,
Johnny Boy,
Politano.
and we love him so much.
oh my God.
We love him so much. We hope all parents would understand.
Because sorry. It just kills me when the folks who, would, I don't know those people, right? But they kind of fit the profile of maybe parents who would just really wouldn't understand some fabulous young gay man's life, in New York City or San Francisco. But they're amazing, they're loving, and maybe they didn't understand their son's lifestyle, but they loved their son, And when I see that stuff, it really hits, because there are so many names on the quilt that are just John Doe or just first names. And there's so many names that aren't on the quilt at all. And those names that aren't on the quilt, many reasons why, they might not be, but there are a lot of John Does because so many families just couldn't, the shame was so bad that they didn't want to say, what their son died of or their daughter. And so when I see that, just parents just like, sharing their grief openly and saying their son's name. Like it was really a big deal. And those of you who were, adults at that time probably remember that. But that to me is just really hard. I mean, if somebody dies of COVID, like there's no shame in that. It's just a fact that was the cause of death, and it's terrible, but there's this, just the idea that you would be so afraid to say the truth, it's just really heavy, there's just a lot to unpack with that. And it just really gets me because I just love those guys, they're really cool. They're really cool. Sorry. Yeah, saying their name out loud is powerful. Yeah, exactly. This is a new sweater, so I don't want to blow my nose. I'm not too proud to do it, but this is a new sweater. So.
Too many people. Too much love gone. Too much tragedy. I took David's story and what his loss meant to me, and I multiplied that by the number of panels, and it was just so horrendous. Every one of those persons that are represented by a panel is a person who was loved by somebody.
Bye, Kate. Thank you.
That loss, the tremendous loss.
Thank you for coming.
And I kept thinking of the possibilities for David, what he could have been, what his promise was.
Kirsten, yeah.
And how cut short it was. And again, multiply that by the number of panels.
I think what we want to see eventually is an end. A day when we can stop adding panels to this quilt and put it away. As a symbol of a terrible thing that happened that's now over. We forget that someday this is going to be over. Someday there's going to be no such thing as AIDS. And people will just look back and remember that there was a terrible tragedy that we survived.
Yeah. It's true, Marianne. I forgot they wore white. A lot of people wore white. I forgot about that. And thank you for the statistic, by the way. 36.3 million. Okay. Yeah, that was a lot. Beautiful, right? I've been on for over 2 hours. We've been on for over 2 hours. Yeah, Kirsten, where we, general population, conflate politics and social justice, it's going to get heavy again. I mean, it's really true. In a lot of ways, things are better in certain ways. In other ways, they've just never been worse, right? And just in terms of people talking to each other, I don't think that that's going very well. To close out tonight, thank you. I couldn't ask for a better group of people to watch that with. That was cool. So I'm gonna just show you a couple things because we're gonna close out this chapter on the AIDS quilt for now. I just wanted to show you this article. This got a lot of press. This article really made the rounds. This is from the San Francisco Chronicle. Carol says Cleve Jones, who started the quilt, was involved in a mini-series called When We Rise. Interesting. Oh, well, I'll mark it down. That's very, very good. When We Rise. I think maybe, Carol, I saw something about that when I was looking for docs about the quilt. Yeah, I think that rings a bell. And there's another one called The Last One. But yeah, I'll make sure to put that on my film list. Thank you. That's just what I like, right? I like those tips. So Mother of AIDS quilt stitches familiar fabric for coronavirus masks. This, in May, you can imagine, like that was really an intense month. Not as intense as April. Anyone else? April, I have never experienced something like that in my life. Eric either. April was endless. It just went on and on and on. It was so bizarre, right? I can't be the only one. I know I'm not. I mean, Eric started actually Googling and reading about the nature of time because he's like, why did April feel like a year? And then May went really fast. Anyway, so this woman was one of the first people. She was there at the beginning in San Francisco. She was sewing the quilt together early on, and she's just a huge part of the story. And she still sews things together. Sews panels together. So leftover fabric, she's sewing face masks for COVID. Very, very interesting. There's that. And then the last thing to show you, this was from my lecture a few years ago at QuiltCon. But I wanted to show you this because we didn't see, I forgot that documentary is really about the stories, right, of the people. Didn't go into the history of it so much. This is, I think the chat's going to disappear when I do this, but it's okay. So that's Cleve Jones, very young. His partner and friend, Richard Feldman, was the first panel of the AIDS quilt. You'll see it here in a second. This, I mentioned yesterday, this was the monument or the memorial that Cleve Jones said inspired the quilt. The whole thing, because there was this candlelight vigil. They marched with these names and they posted them on this memorial, this monument. And that's when he got the idea for the quilt. So this is a pretty, obscure photograph. You won't find this online. I got this from a book called Frey by Julia Bryant Wilson. She writes so much about the quilt in that book. Here's another picture from the early days. I don't know if that's the gal we just saw. Excuse me, I'm all verklempt. And there's Martin Feldman. That's the first panel of the quilt ever. 87. Okay, 87. And I don't want to make you dizzy, sorry, but I'm going to go back to, I was talking about other morning quilts. I'll do the lecture for you some other time, but it's pretty groovy. Let me just show you the first picture that I found that was this is just this one. This was early. I believe this is in New York. This is an early AIDS protest or AIDS awareness building event. In the beginning, the people who died of HIV, AIDS, their names were, they got numbers. They got numbers assigned to them. And I forget exactly, but they were given numbers because it was so scary and so stigmatized that, part of the names project, part of the whole idea of the AIDS quilt is to put their names, the people who died of HIV AIDS, put their names, say their name, right, on the quilt, because these numbers, they were, the people that they loved were given numbers like on their death certificate or something. I can't remember exactly, but this was one of those early, what the hell is going on? We are in trouble. This community is in trouble and we're being oppressed, basically. So, yeah. And then we saw this. So that was the first article that came out in the New York Times. Okay. Whew. We did it. We watched a movie. That was a lot. And like I said, I just couldn't ask for a better group of people to watch it with. Thank you for coming to the stream. I like it a lot, you guys. Thank you so much. And let people know if you liked it, if they want to come by, it'd be awesome. And I'll see you again. I don't know. I'll see you Tuesday for sure. Maybe I'll take tomorrow off. I don't know. You never know. Yeah. Thanks, Nori. Yeah, it was, wasn't it? It's good. Okay, I love you guys. I'll see you later. Where's my button? Oh no. It's like you say goodbye to someone and then you both walk the same way and you're like, okay, bye. Bye. Okay, bye. Peace.